I spent time doing this graphic, so we're going to use this graphic again. Gosh darn it, Corey.
Okay.
We unveiled the number 1 pick earlier today, but Fabian Lovett checked in at number 5. I mean, grown man.
Yeah.
Been playing Power 5 football since 2019. Trey Benson, 2 years removed now from a knee injury. Bigger, stronger, showing us what he can do. Johnny Wilson, 6'7". Good luck defending him. And then you have Jared Verse at defensive end, surefire first-round NFL pick. Yeah. And then you have a quarterback that's on every preseason list, Heisman, Johnny Unitas, Golden Arm, whatever you want to call it. It's pretty good place to be right now, right, Corey? Like nice high cotton there in these days when you got this kind of talent, kind of spearheading thing.
Did they tell the defensive guys not to smile? Is it like a passport photo when you're not supposed to smile if you're on defense because you want to look menacing, but offense, you're always happy because you're scoring a lot?
Could be.
Is that why Johnny and Trey had smiles on their face and Fabian and Jared were grimacing? We didn't get to see is Jordan Travis smiling on his? Do we know?
No, he's stoic.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, he's acting like he's a leader. He's been there before. Yeah, there was no real mystery to this one, was there, Aslan? Who the number 1 player on the list was? He is probably, he's obviously the most important player on this team, and he's got to be he could be one of the 5 to 8 most important players in the country this season, depending on how it shakes out. He's that good, that talented. I forgot that in the Florida game, I knew he had the 2 runs, and I knew he had a bunch of drop passes. But I think he had, because I just wrote it, I think he had like 340 total yards in that game, and then followed that up with 450 total yards or 460 total yards against Oklahoma. That's pretty cool. It's pretty good to have a guy like that coming back for another season. That's pretty neat.
How does it happen to where he's the number 1 player on this team? How can you go back and look at 2020? Yeah. You're in Miami Gardens. You throw the poor kid out there on some kind of half-baked trick play, gadget play. He gets blown into Bolivian. Shout out Mike Tyson. They scoop and score en route to trouncing you and hanging half 100 on you. 2 years later, you could have hung half 100 on them and chose not to. Now he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. How in the hell how are we here, Corey? Are we really here? I'm pinching myself, people on the podcast. How did we get here?
Yeah, it's crazy because Jordan was good all season. He was not, he was good to very good all season. And then those last 2 games, when I was going back writing the story about him being number 1, I'm like, golly, this is Charlie Jameis type stuff. And he didn't play with the same amount of talent those guys did. And he was making guys look foolish. He had great games. He had great moments late in games. And I just think, again, we talked about this last week, I think it was last week, that, all the credit goes to him. Look, he's been developed. Tokars has helped. Dillingham gets a lot of credit for believing in him, maybe even more than his head coach did back in the day when he first started for this football team. Mm-hmm. But give it up to Jordan Travis, man. Like, usually guys in their 3rd year of college football kind of are what they are. And I thought Jordan Travis was going to be honestly, kind of like a Chris Ricks. Could make some throws with his arm, was a good athlete. He could hit some throws downfield, but he wasn't the quarterback he wasn't a quote unquote prototypical quarterback that could stand in the pocket and dice up a defense. He was either going to see somebody open or he was going to try to run for a first down and do it with his legs. And man, he has grown so much. That Oklahoma game, again, he threw for 418 yards. They didn't have a running game in that game. They had a running game all year, except in that game, and they still won because of his right arm. And I think Oklahoma and Brent Venables probably went into that game thinking, look, I played this kid. I played him last year. We were going to play him the year before that, but then they told us we couldn't because of COVID. He can't beat us with his right arm. I think if we take the running game away from Florida State, we're going to win. And the guy threw for 418 on him. So all the credit goes to Jordan Travis, man. He worked really, really hard. He believed in himself. And he's turned himself from an average, adequate quarterback that could make some plays with his legs to one of the very best players in the United States.
What is Jordan?
Credit to him, right? Because this isn't normal. I guess that was what I was trying to say. This isn't normal to take the leap he's taken in a year and a half or 2 years. That's not what usually the 2021, let's say the 2021 Syracuse Jordan Travis or North Carolina Jordan Travis. He was good in that game, but only threw like 13 times. That was the guy I thought we'd have. That's who I thought the ceiling was. It turns out that was like a middle floor, and he's gone so much higher than I thought he could go.
I mean, I don't want to use the Joe Burrow comparison, but it's like the only one that comes to
Let's
mind.
do it. Use it. Go ahead, man. He is the next Joe Burrow.
I mean, Joe Burrow, he threw 16 touchdowns, 5 picks in a season where, I don't know, they might have gone 10-3. I don't even know what LSU was in 2018. Let me check real quick. Yeah, they were 10-3. Look at that. And then the next season, he throws 60 touchdowns and 6 interceptions.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to put that kind of pressure on you, Jordan. But what does he do for an encore, Corey? I mean, is it just sustaining what he did those last 2 games against Florida, Oklahoma, or are we talking about a guy that just is going to see the field so well, knows where it's got to go, has the proper tools around him, playmakers, protection, that, we're going to see something borderline special, transcendent this year?
Yeah, I think there's a chance you see that because the one thing he didn't have was he had moments in 2021 and 2020 for that matter, but he didn't have sustained success. And I just think there is a confidence that comes with not only playing well, but winning games and winning a lot of games. And I think there's nothing he will see this year that he hasn't seen before. He's already been to Clemson. He didn't play well at Clemson, but he's been there and lived that. He's played that life. He's lived that life. He knows what to expect now. And I just think I've talked about it a lot, but that experience of being great, he's lived it. It's not aspirational. Like, man, I hope one day I can be a great college quarterback. He's done it. He's lived it. He is. Like Oklahoma and Florida, he was the best player on the field, and it was not close. He was really good against LSU too. In most of the games that mattered late in the year or at the beginning of the year, he was very, very good. And I just think that must fill him with more confidence than he's ever had. He's also old. That helps too.
I was gonna mention that. I saw you retweet a retweet that he did, where I don't know if it was On Three or Pro Football Folks or somebody put up a content tweet about, like, who feels like they've been playing college football forever, and it was like a photo of Stetson Bennett, and I think Jordan retweeted that with like a smiling emoji. Then you retweeted that as well. Like, it's a funny kind of tongue in cheek thing, but like, he's arrived at the station, right? Like, he knows what lies ahead for him in his career. And like, I just feel like maybe there's something about just feeling ready to take advantage of the moment,
Yeah.
the urgency, and kind of like putting all your chips in the basket this year, because everybody around you is doing it, right? Like, all the support that you're getting, whether it's Battle's End or your teammates. Like, there's something to be said about feeling that kind of last season swan song, a last dance maybe, and taking advantage of it, I feel.
Sure. And I also think, again, with the experience and the age, it kind of reminds me of Winky in 2000. Obviously, he's not as old as Winky was. Winky, I think, was 28 that final year. But Winky had played a ton of football. He had won a national championship. He'd won a bunch of games. And he went into that 2000 season just so cocksure about how good he was. He knew he was awesome, and he knew they were going to win when they stepped on the field. And I think Jordan Travis might have that in him too, that he knows he's awesome. It's not he hopes he's awesome. He knows he's really good. And he will not be overwhelmed or intimidated when he's in Death Valley. He will not be overwhelmed when he's playing LSU on national TV on a Sunday night. I just think he's got everything you'd want for a college quarterback for a season like this. Just keep him healthy.